Marvel really thought that they had something here with Fantastic Four First Steps, and honestly, like we talked about earlier this week, it is easily the best film to come out in July. But the die has already been cast on the MCU, and thanks to installments earlier this year like Captain Black, Falcon, America Man, and the Thunderbolts, or the New Avengers, or it doesn't really much matter. It's such a great film that nobody cared about. But yes, all of that slop, not even factoring in the, 3 TV shows that there's been so far? I'm sorry, I don't need to oversell it. There's 3 scheduled. Oh, actually, no, because Friday, tomorrow, I'm going to be getting the animated Eyes of Wakanda. All 4 episodes are dropping on one day because that thing looks just so terribly unappealing. I guess they also just want to hurry up and get past that so that there's this big gap between that and Wonder Man coming out in December. So for the next few months, there's not going to be any new Marvel content. And instead, the hopes of the franchise rest on the Fantastic Four because after Wonder Man in December, you gotta hop over to Sony real quick to get the new Spider-Man movie, and then eventually it wraps all the way back around to Doomsday. But we'll talk about a lot of this stuff coming up here shortly because Fantastic Four, yeah, the best of July, but it's gonna end up performing the worst by a long shot. Because we had the numbers last time we looked at this for the opening weekend, and well, it fell short on multiple different metrics. Definitely of Jurassic World Rebirth, and the 5 days is just a little bit of an apples to oranges comparison when it comes to opening weekends. But the more direct comparison is, of course, Superman, and, well, 117 million opening domestic weekend as opposed to 125. Yeah, one of them numbers is a little bit smaller. And the international, well, it was 5 million better, but the 8 million domestic downswing doesn't quite make up for those lost profits. But if we're running with the idea that Marvel's first family only cost $200 million to put to screen, and we're not talking about the marketing budget or anything like that, then it has a hope of breaking even, right? Because, oh man, it already, at the worldwide box office, it's already made back its budget because there's a bunch of stupid people that are out there who have no idea how math works when it comes to Hollywood. They think that theaters just put this shit out like they're a fucking charity or some dumb shit like that. But these are the type of people that think that, the Thunderbolts was the greatest thing that they have ever seen, and then prior to that, Captain America, Brave New World was the greatest thing that they have ever seen. But you ask them to recite, after they watched Fantastic Four, any of the plot points of those 2 previous films, and they would be totally slack-jawed and befuddled. But hey, Ironheart was really good and a fresh take on the MCU, right? But now at time of recording, we have the first Monday numbers, and well, it's not great, if we're going to be completely honest, okay? $10 million on Monday, and you take a look at those sweeping fall-offs, it's not good. It's really not good. Every single day has been a downer. Likely by the time that you guys see this video, the Tuesday numbers will come out. Remember, that's Cheap Tuesday everywhere. That number will likely tick up a little bit. You might get 14 million. But even still, you just compare that against Superman, and well, its first Monday was nearly 13 million. So it hopping up to 17 million on its first Tuesday. I don't see it. I really don't see it, and honestly, it was a gamble to put this at 2 weeks after Superman. You thought that everybody would have got their viewings out of the way, so they would have been ready for the next big release that's out there, but it was always going to be a gamble because you wanted to slot yourself. Marvel wanted to slot themselves as the last thing to come out in July, last big release to come out in the summer, full stop. So yeah, you would have thought that they would have had the momentum to carry them through August and potentially a little bit of Labor Day weekend fare, perhaps, but no, that's just simply not going to be the case. The apathy has firmly set in, and Marvel, well, they're in a bit of trouble. But don't worry, guys, help is on the way because we're going to be getting a Ghost Rider. Don't know when, don't know where, how he's going to slot in, doesn't really matter, but hey, Ghost Rider's coming, guys. Marvel Studios has reportedly cast an actor to play Ghost Rider in the MCU. Cool. With all of those announced projects that are on the docket right now, where does he fit in exactly? At this point in time, fuck, maybe he's a part of Doomsday, because Rebecca Romijn reveals Avengers Doomsday script is not done 3 months into filming, despite Kevin Feige's claims. Oh shit. Well, that's okay. What does she know? She's just a blue lady. She's blue because she needed the money. Gosh! In a revealing interview, actress Rebecca Romaine has disclosed that the script for Marvel Studios' big-budget team-up movie Avengers Doomsday remains unfinished, even as production has been underway for 3 full months. The admission appears to contradict statements by Marvel's chief, Kevin Feige, who recently asserted the studio never begins filming without a complete script. Who the fuck believes that? Bro, why would you say something so silly? Romaine, known for her role as Mystique in the original X-Men trilogy, is coming back for Doomsday for the first time since, well, X3, and I forget when that came out. Yes, when asked if she has wrapped her scenes, Romaine responded, "I'm not quite sure. The script they haven't finished writing it. That's why they brought on Michael Waldron. Yes, that galaxy brain intellect that brought you Loki Season 1 and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. He's come in to just lend a helping hand. It's going to be so fucking great. Oh, I just can't wait for this fucking dumpster fire." That's why, even as anemic as the performance for Fantastic Four is, I'm not going to say that Marvel's done with billion-dollar hits, because there's going to be 2 camps heading into this movie, heading into Doomsday here. Okay, the people that simply, are still energized. It's been, since 2019, since there's been an Avengers movie. So even though the MCU has definitely cooled quite a bit in the public consciousness, rather, an Avengers film, you would think, still carries some weight. I'm not even factoring in the new Avengers stuff. That was just fucking dumb, and you just end up doing more brand damage than anything else, which is why they ended up dropping all of that stuff, because it's so funny, right? At least at time of recording, I seen something from Marvel Studios saying that, hey, you know what? You can go ahead and now out on Blu-ray and digital, you can add the latest MCU entry into your collection. The Thunderbolts is there, but no mention of the new Avengers. It's almost like they seen that nobody gave a fuck about that last second rebrand at all whatsoever, and it's so funny because for as much as that is supposed to be the first entry in the quality over quantity era for Marvel moving forward, if you are to not watch the totality of that film, including the 2 post-credit scenes, the way that Thunderbolts slots in makes a hell of a lot more sense, given the fact that the Fantastic Four never ties in with that end credit scene from the Thunderbolts, which was filmed on the set of Doomsday. They have no idea what they're doing over there. Like, that film is probably going to be still in principal photography, not just through the end of summer, but probably through the end of the year, because, yeah, you're bringing on Michael Waldron at the 11th hour. You have bit part characters, which, okay, yeah, back during the original trilogy, okay, Mystique was very important to those X-Men movies, but now in Doomsday, she's part of this ballooned cast that at least has 30 some odd announced names, with apparently a hell of a lot more in reserve. Remember, at one point in time, they were at least planning another chair stream, which I could see them doing in the very near future. But that's, of course, after they exhaust all of their other exciting news, like, hey, it doesn't matter, hey, so what? The Avengers looks like it's a bit of a clusterfuck. Don't worry about that stuff, guys, because the X-Men is coming. You're gonna get the old X-Men, and then we're gonna be getting the new X-Men, and the new X-Men is gonna be shepherded by the same idiot that brought you the Thunderbolts. Yep, Jake Schreier has in fact been confirmed by Kevin Feige that he will be helming the maiden mutant voyage in the MCU. Boy, I really can't wait for that one. But something else that he was talking about that actually makes a lot of sense and is perhaps a little bit more revelatory than he was anticipating. But Kevin Feige was talking about the other flops that he's had on this year. Don't worry, we're really excited about Fantastic Four and Doomsday. Oh, it's going to be fantastic. But he had to address the first one. Okay, he had to talk about Captain America: Brave New World, a film that I think we're along that timeline, and I think Mahler laid it out where, okay, in the first week and in the lead up to the release of a Marvel film, or really any cape shit fair at this point in time, everybody's just, expressing such unmitigated hype for it. And then about 30 days later, about a month or 2 later, then people start to come around and go, actually, that wasn't very good. And then about half the year later, about 6 months later, and then you start to get people going, actually, it was unfairly treated. And then about a year later, you end up getting some fucking wonky, out of context scenes reposted all over social media, and then you got the beep bop boop, totally real, totally legitimate social media accounts going, wow, I cannot believe this film was treated so harshly. This is peak fire, bro. Oh my god, I can't believe we slept on such a remarkable film. You're seeing it, if you're on social media at all, within the past couple of weeks, there was that really wonky looking Thunderbolts fight scene with Sentry and the rest of the crew, which it looked really off. Like, the way that it was shot was, well, apparently the way that the X-Men is going to be shot. Can't wait for that one. But right before the release of Thunderbolts, there was a whole bunch of Red Hulk shit that was coming out. and Anthony Mackie trying to do damage control and people were trying to rehab that fucking pile of shit. Like, dude, the reason your movie failed, it's not because there's been too much Marvel content recently. Well, that's kind of the problem because it's all been so bad and it's just been, such a relentless showering of shit from the sludge pipe. But it's just, you released a Captain America movie without Captain America. And that's what Kevin Feige just said. Anthony Mackie takes a hit as Kevin Feige blames Brave New World flop on the absence of fan favorite Captain America. Well, yeah, no Captain America in this Captain America movie. But why? The Falcon's cool and all. We like him as a sidekick, but that's not Captain America. What the fuck is going on here? Captain America Brave New World was supposed to launch the MCU's next phase of grounded, politically charged storytelling. Instead, it became one of the studio's biggest misfires, despite a great cast that was cobbled together from 3 different movies. But yes, it had Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, Giancarlo Esposito, and the film stumbled to a 46% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and earned just $415 million at the global box office, which is still, $20 or $30 million more than the Thunderbolts made. But that's alright, because that one was critically acclaimed, but nobody could tell you a goddamn thing about that movie just a few months post-release. Now, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige is offering a blunt assessment of what went wrong. Yes, the movie didn't have Captain America. It was the first without Chris Evans, Feige said at a roundtable event attended by Collider's Steve Weintraub, addressing the backlash and underperformance head on. Yeah, there was no real backlash outside of people going, this movie fucking stinks. But yeah, underperformance, there you go. While fans were eager to see Sam Wilson take up the shield, not really. They were eager to see Bucky take up the shield, but then Sam just got it and it's like, oh, okay, we've seen that before, but it's normally with a bike instead of a shield. The film's troubled production and heavy reshoots may have undermined the story's emotional payoff. Well, yeah, originally slated to feature Tim Blake Nelson's the leader a lot more heavily, the center of the climactic final battle involving Isaiah Bradley and Sabra. The little Israeli superhero. The movie went through major last-minute changes. The entire scenes were cut. Yeah, we kind of seen that and kind of figured that out. Giancarlo Esposito's Sidewinder replaced the Serpent Society as the main thread. Even the film's finale was restructured, reportedly removing key characters from the action. The end result, yeah, you had fucking Wombly, Red Hulk. Cool stuff. So Feige's comments reflect that concern inside Marvel Studios that recent audience fatigue is partly due to disjointed storytelling and reliance on familiarity. Right. In Brave New World, the nostalgia may have worked against it. Fans loved Steve Rogers, still do, and they're definitely going to cheer, but then they're also going to feel betrayed when they, see Steve Rogers come back, pick up the shield, and the first thing that he says is, "Hail Hydra," going, what the fuck is wait, what? But that's all right. That's not coming around until probably the end of Doomsday. Who knows where that's going to slot in, because they're still writing the goddamn script. 6 years ago, yeah, since Endgame, and nobody can tell you a goddamn thing about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He was Captain Falcon in Brave New World. He was still Falcon at the time of that stupid show. Feige also acknowledged that audiences are growing weary of needing to follow up every series and spin-off, yes, to keep up, which is very interesting. Yes, referencing Thunderbolts, which you praised a couple of months back, which also underperformed despite positive reviews. He said, Thunderbolts was a very good movie. Sure thing. You keep on saying that. You keep on repeating the lie long enough, and eventually people will buy it. But nobody knew that title, right? And many of those characters were from shows. Okay, cool. So there was a residual effect of audiences going, I guess I had to have seen these other shows to understand who this is. Right. So then that ends up explaining away the Fantastic Four having the best opening weekend of the 3 that you released. That explains the failure of Captain America because they felt hoodwinked, or maybe they watched the show that explained how Sam fully started to embrace having the shield. It's almost like you just keep on walking around what the actual problem is within the MCU. The shit that you're putting out is absolute garbage with no real structure or leadership. You don't have a plan, even though you keep on telling us you have a plan, and instead of doing something that makes sense, you're just going to continue to jangle enough keys until you run out of keys, and then you're eventually going to have to tell some good stories, or you're just going to blow up the entire franchise. I think at this point in time, we can faithfully say what's likely to happen when it's all said and done. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo, and I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.